Hi, I'm Melinda, and today I want to talk to you about non-linear materials. Specifically, in this first lecture of the series, I want to talk about collating data, which means gathering and organizing all of your information. So, let's begin. We've done our questionnaires, we've got all of the information. Now what? Well, we need to start by turning the information into a grid. We need to design a coding system for our questions. Then we need to enter our data and analyze it. And our grid should look something like this, with all of our questions numbered across the top and all of our respondents listed down the left column. This will enable us to see all of our information clearly and enable us to start analyzing the information. So to begin with, closed questions are fairly easy to manage. Basically, we want to turn everything into numbers. We may have numbers already, so 1 to 5 just remain as that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy. So yes and no could become 1 and 2. Male and female, 1 and 2. Strongly agree, agree, neither agree nor disagree, disagree, strongly disagree. So here we've got 5 choices, so they would become 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Next we've got bananas, oranges, apples and cherries. So what do you think? Of course, 1, 2, 3, 4. If information is missing, we'd put in a 0. And if information is invalid, so maybe the respondents have chosen 2 options instead of 1. Again, we use a 0. So basically we need to translate all of the information into numbers, and we need to make a code so that later we know what the answers mean. Now, open questions. They're a bit trickier to manage, and we need to read through the answers and see if we can group them. We'll probably find that the answers largely fall into a few groups, but we'll also need a category for other. So if we look at the information on the screen there, the question was, what do you do in your spare time? And we could expect a few groupings, like talk to friends, hang with family, play games on phone, tablet, laptop, craft, maybe they paint or collect bottle tops or stamps. And probably there'll be a few that only one person chooses, so those we could put in a category of other. So to some extent we can turn open questions into numbers, but with some open questions that's not possible, and we'll just need to record the information, and then we can bring that into our analysis later on. Okay, so we've got a coding system, and the next thing that we need to do is enter our data. And then we can look at that data and pull out information like 4 out of 5 females in our survey prefer bananas, or 9 out of 10 people enjoy watching football, or whatever the significant findings might be. Later in this lecture, we'll look at how to enter data in Excel, but rather than go into that right now, I want to continue to talk more generally about collating, analyzing and presenting data. After we've looked at the findings, we'll begin the discussion part of our report, and that's where we'll start to look at what the findings mean. And in the discussion, we need to be very careful about how we interpret the data. For example, we know that 4 out of 5 female respondents prefer bananas, but we can't go on to say that 4 out of 5 women or 8 in 10 women in the general population prefer bananas, or that 80% of all women prefer bananas. We have to be aware of the limitations of our study, and our limitations in this study would be that we've only interviewed 5 women, and from 5 women we cannot extrapolate to the rest of the population. So we can only talk about the people that we interviewed. So be very careful about what you claim. So now we've collated the data and we're ready to create some charts to show some important findings, and we need to consider how to do this. So will we use Excel? Are there other options? And we need to consider what kinds of charts we'll use. So Excel offers us a very good range of chart types, but the fact is that tables, pie charts and column charts are the most popular. But which one should you use? And here you can see a column chart. The column chart is comparing things over time. So what happened in January, in February, what happened in March, April and May. And the pie chart you can see is just comparing how many of something. So here we can see column charts are good to compare different groups or to track changes over time, and that's the example we can see there. While a pie chart is not good for changes over time, but it is good for comparing parts of a whole. So now we have an idea that column charts and pie charts can highlight and display slightly different information. So today we've looked at these points. And next we're going to look at the first 4 points and how we can use Excel to help us. Now, this next section will be very useful. For some, it may be a little detailed and complex, and for others it may reinforce what you already know, or it may add to what you know. I urge you to take from it any pointers and information which may be useful. And now we're going to go and look at Excel. Okay, so I've got my Excel spreadsheet and I've put a table in here, and you can see that across the top I've written the questions, so I have 10 questions, and in my example I have 10 respondents, so I've got my respondents written down there, and now I need to look at each questionnaire and put in the answers for every respondent. So respondent 1, I'll put in the answers. And respondent 2, and I would just continue along that, looking at each questionnaire, putting in all of the answers for each respondent. Okay, and I did that earlier, so you can see it here on this part of the spreadsheet. And now I can look for information. So question 1, for example, if we look at it down here, this question was about gender. Are you male or are you female? And number 1 of my coding meant male, number 2 meant female. And I can count my answers. So I can say I've got, all the ones mean male, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 males, and obviously I should then have 5 females to make the 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes, I've got 5 males and 5 females. And at this point I can analyze the information using Excel, or I can use pen and paper and I can write it on my page. Okay. I'm going to show you how to do it in Excel. If it seems too complicated, that's okay, just do it on pen and paper, but make sure your information is accurate. If another lecturer has shown you another way to do it, that's okay as well. You can go with the way that they've shown you. So I'm just going to show you how I would analyze this information using Excel, and it involves putting in a few formulas. Okay, so I'll show you how to put in a formula, and what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to make sure there's a formula at the bottom of each column, and you can see here I've got option 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So what I'm going to do is get the formula to tell me how many times the number 1 appears, how many times the number 2 appears. So I'll just show you one way to get a formula. So I'm going to highlight this box because this box is where I want the answer to go. So I'm going to click up here on the insert function, and we can see a box here, and I'm going to look for a formula called COUNTIF. Okay, so I'm looking for COUNTIF, so there it is. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say OK. And now it's opened up this box and it's asking for the range. So the range is here. I want it to look through this information to find, and to find what? I want the criteria. I want it to find the number 1 every time the number 1 appears. And then I say OK. So here it's telling me option 1, so number 1 appears 5 times. Okay, so let me do it again for option 2. So I click on the box, that's where I want the answer. I go to Insert Function, and this time I'm going to go to Most Recently Used, because I used it recently, much easier to find it. I'm going to click COUNTIF. It's going to ask me the range, and again I'm going to choose the same group of numbers. This time I want it to look for the number 2, so criteria is 2. And I'm going to say OK, and it's telling me that there are 5 number 2s, so we know that this means 5 females. And this is all the information there. I only asked people to tell me, are you male or are you female, and there's not really another answer, so there's not really an option 3, 4 or 5. But in some of these other questions there are up to 5 options, so I'm just going to make my table neat and tidy, and I'll just continue with that. So I'll say Insert Formula, I want it to be COUNTIF, the range is the same, tell me how many times the number 3 appears. Okay, so it appears 0 times. Yep, no surprises there, but I'm just being neat and tidy and putting everything in. Okay, range is the same. Criteria this time is 4. Okay, 0 again, and last time tell me how many times the number 5 appears. So range, criteria, I want number 5, and again 0. Again, that's no surprise. And then I want it to do that for every column. So how many times do we see number 1, how many times number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5? And I could ask it to put the formula in each time, or I can take a shortcut. So you can see here number 5, and look up here, and this is where the actual formula is. So this is the formula that is saying what should go in here. So it's COUNTIF, and then B3. So B3 is here to B12, so B and 12. So it's in this range, and we're looking for number 1. Okay, so now I'm going to drag this across here. And look what happens. So here, it's changed it. Look between C3 and C12 for number 1. And here, look for number 1 between D3 and D12. And here we've got E3, E12, and you can see it's changed it each time. So I can drag all of these formulas along, and you can see here we're looking between C3, C12, D3, E3. So I'll just drag them all across. And now I've got all of the information from here. From this table, it's telling me how many times each option occurs. So if I look at question 10, for example, I can see option 1 has been chosen 7 times, option 2 has been chosen 3 times, and then nothing for 3, 4 and 5. So if I look at question 9, option 1, 2 people chose it, option 2, 1 person, option 3, 3 people, option 4, option 5. Okay, so now I could look at something specific. So question 3, for example, we'll say question 3 asked people, which do you prefer? Oranges, number 1, apples, number 2, or bananas, number 3. Okay, so it's telling me option 1, which was oranges, and we can see here just 1 person. Option 2, which was apples, we can see 3 people chose that, and I'll just check, is that correct? So number 2 should only appear 3 times. There it is, 1, 2, 3. And option 3, which was bananas, 6 times. So is that right? Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see that these formulas have analysed the information, have started sorting out the information for me, and I can start drawing conclusions. So I can say, from the group of people that I surveyed, the most popular fruit was bananas and the least popular fruit was oranges. Okay, so that's beginning to look at the information, but I can delve even deeper. And if I just scroll across here, you can see that I've copied the table twice. It's blank, but I've got a blue one and a pink one. So I'm going to be looking at what do the males think and what do the females think. So I need to put in formulas again. And you can see that I've put a formula in here. And my formula is saying, have a look at B3, and if B3 equals 1, then show me what's in C3. So what I'm really saying is, if the person answering the question is a male, show me what they wrote for C3. So let's go across here. So here C3 is question 2. So if this person is a male, what did they say for C3? Well, this person is a male. I can see here it's a male, and they chose the option 1. So I want to know, for all of these people, what did they say for question 2? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag down and here. So each time I'm saying, if the person answering, if this person is a male, show me what they've said. So over here I've got a 0, a female, and down the bottom we have 3 males, their answers 2, 4, 2, so their answers 2, 4 and 2. So I'm putting in all of their information. So now I'm going to drag across. And again you can see that here it's telling me, I'll just go across this way again so I can show you. So I'm looking now at this box here on the right, and the formula is telling me if B3, in this, I'm still looking here at the first respondent, so in B3, if this person is a male, show me what's in column D. Next one, the formula, if this person is a male, show me what's in E3. So basically it's putting in all of the answers for this respondent because they're a male. So here I'm going to drag across, it's a female, I'm going to get zeros. Okay, because the formula is saying only tell me if it's a male. Okay, here we've got a male, I'll get some answers. Females, I should have zeros. So all I'm doing is I'm getting my formula correct in the first place, and then I'm dragging across to put the formula in every cell. Okay, so there's all the information, but they're only the answers that the males have given me. And now I can do the same for females. So I'll go across here. Okay, I'm going to take this formula, I'm going to copy it. So I've copied the formula, I'm going to paste it into this cell by putting it up here. Okay, but have a look at this, it's still saying if B3 equals 1 is a male, then show me what C3 is. Well, now I only want the female answers. This is my pink one, so I'm going to put in a 2. And B3 we know was a male, so I'm going to get zeros for this. So I'll just drag across. That will all be zeros. Okay, and I'm going to drag this down. So now I'm only getting the answers for the females. Okay, so now I've got my information separated into males and females, and I can count how many males said this and how many males said that. So if I've got 50 or 100 respondents, it's going to be much easier to use formulas. So I'm going to put some formulas in here now to analyze this information. So here I've put in a formula and I'm asking it to count how many times 1 appears in this list. So I've got 1, 2, 2 1s. So there's my answer, 2 1s. Okay. And we can see this is saying count between Q3 and Q12. How many ones are there? Okay, looking at the formula up here, I'm telling it, look between Q3 and Q12 and see how many ones. So column Q, look between 3 and 12. So look in here, how many ones? The answer is 2. And look what happens if I drag it. I've got a bit of a problem. Here it's changed it. Q4 to Q13, Q5 to Q14. No, I don't want that. Okay, so I need to change my formula a little bit. What I need to do is put a $sign in here. The $sign is telling it, don't change the row. And I'll put one in here. So what I'm saying is, don't change the row. So look at Q3 and Q12 for each of these. So I'll drag it down now. Okay, but now I have a problem. All the answers are the same, and there aren't 2 option 1s, 2 option 2s. Okay, the problem now is I've got look for option 1. I've got look for option 1. Obviously it should be option 2. So how many option 2s are there? How many, and I'm changing it up here, how many option 3s? Going up here, how many option 4s? And last one, I'm going up to the formula, how many option 5s? Okay, so now this is more accurate. So how many option 1s? 2. So let me check. 1, 2, yep, 2 of them. How many option 2s? 1, 2. Option 3, yep, there's none. Option 4, yes, there's 1. Option 5, none. Okay, so these are the options for the males. Now I want to put in all of these formulas. The easy way to do it is going to be to drag across. And we can see here, it's just changing the column, it's not changing the row. And so we've got S, and we've got S, and we've got, whoops, where are we? So in this one, in column T, and this is, formula has just changed automatically. Column U, the formula's changed automatically. Okay, so that's all looking good. I'll drag those right across. I'll drag it right across. And again. And again. Now I can analyze the information. Just for the males, what do the males think? Okay, and for question 3, which is the one that we looked at before about, what was it, oranges, apples and bananas. For the males, option 1, none of them chose oranges, 3 of them chose apples, and 2 of them chose bananas. Okay, and we can go through each one and see who chose what. Okay, now I need to put the information in for the females, and I'm just going to pinch this formula here, and I'm going to put it in over here for the females. So I'm going to highlight the box where I want it to go. I'm going to put it up here. Okay. Well, that's a problem. I want it to look at AD. This column here is AD. You can see at the top. So I need to change the formula. So it's going to look at AD. So now I'm telling it, if we look up here, I'm saying look at AD, row 3, and A to AD, row 12. So AD, row 3 is correct, down to AD, 12 is correct, so I wanted to look through all of those and find out how many option 1s. Okay, and there's only 1. Okay, so again I'm going to drag it down, but again I've got the problem. It's always looking for option 1, so I need to change that last number. So here I'm going to tell it to tell me how many 2s are there. The next one, how many 3s are there? Next one, how many 4s are there? And last one, how many 5s are there? Okay, and I don't want that line that keeps appearing. You can see there's a line across there. I don't want that. I'm just going to get rid of that because it's annoying me. So I'm going over here. I'm going to choose no border, thank you. Okay, whoops, but I do want a border here. So I'm going to put a bottom border in. Okay, keep it neat and tidy. Okay, so I've got the beginning of my formula, and we know from experience we can just drag it across and it's going to find the data that we need. Okay, so now I've got all the information I need. Table 1 is telling me about all of the respondents and what they think. Table 2 is telling me just about the males, and I can see exactly how many chose which option, and I can see for the females exactly how many chose which option. So now I can really analyze my data, and I'm ready to turn this data into some kind of chart, maybe a pie chart, maybe a bar chart, maybe something else. Okay, and we'll look at that in the next lesson. So we'll finish there for today. Gosh, and I know that was a bit complicated. I hope that there was something useful for you in there.